Now let's take a look at data types. In this course, we look at only simple data types, not complex data types. A simple data type is a basic data type such as a number or a character field or something like a date, which we can see on the show date column. The data type defines the kind of data that you're going to put into a particular column, and it applies automatic formatting. In other words, if you try to put characters into a number, you'll get an error. If you put something into a date that is not formatted as a date, you'll get an error as well. With a char field, it's generally a string. You can usually put anything into it unless you have other restrictions on it. In this case, we don't have other restrictions. So there are some basic data types that we need to look at, and we can look at them briefly now. So there are four basic, very basic data types. In Oracle, you have a thing called a varchar 2 with a length defined on it, defined by n. Essentially, it's just a string of alphanumeric characters. Alphanumeric being any letter character, any number, and any special character, essentially anything you can type in on the keyboard. A char data type is similar to a varchar, except that it's not variable length. It has a fixed length. So if you define char as char3, you have to put 3 characters in. If you have a char with a single value, such as an x, you have to put x space space character, or x space x. It has to have 3 characters. It has to have a space character if you're not putting anything in it that's visible, or a tab, white space. A number variable in Oracle is a basic simple number. Number can be number with no specifications, or it can have P for precision and S for scale. Precision is the width of the number, how many digits it has. Scale is how many decimal points it has. Numeric variables are specifically formatted for each type of relational database. In other words, SQL Server probably has a different format for the way it defines these variables. Other databases as well. Oracle has its own specific format. And dates. Dates are defined by an internal configuration spec that says you enter a date in America as month, month, / day, day, / year, 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 year. In Europe, it's slightly different depending on the country. Those are the 4 very basic data types. In Oracle, you have something called a national character set data type. They're called nvarchar2 and nchar. What they store is characters that you can use in other countries such as China and Russia that have different character sets. In other words, we use ABC, in Russia use a Cyrillic character set. In China you use, I think, up to 4,000 different characters. What they're actually storing is a larger binary representation or internally stored value, because they have a larger number of characters. Here are some more specific numeric data types. A float is a floating point. If you remember, the number was defined as P and S, which is precision and scale. The scale defines the decimal point, which means that if you have 2 decimals, it means that every number that goes into number P, 2 must have 2 decimals. In a float, the point can be anywhere. It can be a single digit or 50 digits on the right side of the decimal, depending on the size of the float, of course. An integer is just a number, which is the same as a number data type without the precision and scale, or actually without the scale, but with a variable precision, which turns out in Oracle internally to be a number 38, a 38-byte number. You can also use something called a small int. It's important to note that actually integers and small integers are really only a transparent data type, because internally they do get generated as number data types inside Oracle anyway. And you have a timestamp, which is really a date with a timestamp on it as well. So it's a date, month, day, year, and then hour, minutes, and seconds. A row ID is an internal pointer for Oracle that allows Oracle to point at rows in a table, inside a table space, in a data file, in a database. And a uRow ID is a slightly more complex version of a row ID. Those are the simple data types in Oracle that we need to look at.